Good morning everyone and welcome to IR Photo Tours, and today we're going to be talking about the new Adobe Lightroom update. I'm just having a quick cup of coffee, very early in the morning, trying to get this information out to you guys so you know you're on top of it all. So when you go out today shooting with your Canon EOS R5, if you have one, then you will be pleased to know that Adobe Lightroom has finally updated. And there's a few other bits and pieces that go with it, including the new lenses. And we'll go through all of that in a minute. But before we do, can we ask you please to subscribe down below and hit that bell notification if you would please. Thank you. Right, moving on. Well, you probably noticed just lately I've broken my glasses. My very expensive £100 glasses, Timberland, broken. The stem just came out and popped out. What a shame, but there you go. Love you. So anyway, new ones on order. We have got the new release of the Adobe update. What does this mean? Well, firstly, the best thing it means is your R5, you can now use your raw images and edit them into Lightroom if you wish to. We've had the camera for 2 weeks now, and yesterday I saw the update on the Lightroom and or Adobe, and updated it basically, and now I can edit the R5 files, the raw files, because I've been dying to edit and show you guys some of the edits and what this R5 is capable of doing. So I purposely done a HDR 3 bracketed shots in camera in preparation for this video, and the idea being is to find out what its high dynamic range is all about, where it peaks and where it doesn't, how much we can stretch one of the raw files from the R5. The latest lens is added in August 2020, so this is now. What do we have? So the latest port is for the Canon RF 85mm f2, Canon RF 100 to 500mm f4.5 to 7.1 LIS USM, Canon RF 100 to 500mm f4.5 to 7.1 LIS USM plus extender RF 1.4x or times, Canon RF 100 500mm, and it goes on and on and on. So I'll let you read that because I'm going to get all twisted, and it's not going to be good for you guys. So it'll be a very boring video, I would have thought. But here, just read on. I'll scroll slowly for you. There you are, Canon RF 600mm. So these are all the mainly Canon look by the look of it. And then you go down to Rokinon and Pentax. We've got some support for 85mm f1.4 EDSDM AW Pentax, Skidio. Oh, okay, so Skidio's in there as well with the 2 JPEG and plus DNG. Tamron's got a 28 200mm, obviously a brand new one, f2.8 to 5.6 Di3 RXD A071. What a mouthful that is! Can they not shorten that? And then of course they got the Sony. So Samyang. Let's go down the list properly. Samyang has got a new lens out. A Samyang AF 35mm f1.4. Sony FE 12 to 24 f2.8 GM, and Viltrox Viltrox PFU RBMH 85mm f1.8. So they are the supported lenses for this update. And as you can see on that list, most of those are Canon related. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Canon lenses. It also obviously supports the Canon EOS R5 and EOS R6 with its DNG files. They are a CR3 file. There's other features as well actually that are added. I believe panoramics and stuff like that. So they're all different bits and pieces. But for us Canon users and camera users of the Rokin, Pentax, Video, Tamron, Samyang, Sony, Viltrox, all of those lenses that they brought out, they're being supported by Lightroom themselves. So thank you Lightroom, thank you for that, getting that underway so quickly. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom, and we have got one of my highlighted images we took from Haysborough one evening with David Blake, and as you can see, beautifully exposed grain and fields, however slightly overexposed on the sky and getting towards being blown out. In fact, it is blown out here. If you were to put your highlight alert on there and also on the dark sides, you'll see what's going on. This is the R5 file in Lightroom, and we're going to see, because this is quite reasonably blown out here, I think you would agree. So how much can we actually retain back from that file? Let's find out. Okay, so if we go to exposure and bring the exposure down until we get rid of those highlights. So if you look at the histogram, this is all going to help you as well. Now, if we looked at the histogram previously, let's do that. You can see how much highlighted areas there are. There's quite a lot there that was blown out. So what we're going to do is bring the exposure down on this file, down to a degree where we could feel happy. Probably go a little bit more than that, because the corn or the fields look very well exposed even now. There's nothing touching onto this side, which is the dark side. The dark side. We don't want the dark side. It causes grain. We go on to the shadows and bring the shadows up. Now, by doing what we've done, and we've had a very highlighted image to start with, and it's been very well exposed to start with, we can now know full well we're not going to get any noise in that image at all. End of. Not that noise is a bad thing. I'm not against noise at all, but on this particular image, it's a good one to show that the fact that there won't be any noise on it. It's a really well exposed image. So therefore, if we were to click back again, let's click back again to where we were, you can see, you can clearly see, if you're not very careful in your camera and you're a new photographer and you're not aware of things, and you get this image home and you go, oh no, it's overexposed. And such a nice image, it's my best image ever. What am I going to do? Well, if you've got an R5, you're all right, because the exposure you can bring down. Just bear in mind, do not touch either side of the histogram, and then bring your shadows up, because now what we got now is a dark image on the foreground. Okay, so we just bring that up, bring the detail of the shadows up, and now we have a really nice image. Now, we haven't even touched the highlights yet, so we could even bring the highlights down just a tad. As you can see, I didn't need to bring that down hardly anything for that sun to be in check as well. So I've got -12 on that. And the reason being is because I've come down over 1.5 stops of exposure. That is incredible. I reckon we could go a lot further than that with the R5. But if you're going further than that with the R5, I suggest you do some courses on photography. Please. Mistakes do happen, let's face it. I've made mistakes in photography with weddings where I've got a couple of shots that were overexposed, and the Canon EOS R was very good. It can recover up to 5 stops of light or exposure, and that in itself saved me dramatically. So this file here on the R5 doesn't surprise me if it's the predecessor to the R, because the R was fantastic and is still fantastic at recovering those shadows and highlights. You can shoot to the right of the histogram, and I would suggest shooting slightly to the right of the histogram with these particular cameras because of that reason. As you can see on this image here, it's superb. I've done 2 little bits of exposure adjustments there, and it looks absolutely amazing. But we're going to go further than that. We're going to carry on with editing this like I would normally edit any of my images, and we're just going to bring some punch to that image, and we're also going to bring some clarity, a bit of colour, because it is, after all, a raw file and it does need editing. It is not a JPEG. The JPEG would have pre-coloured it in camera, pre-edited in camera, whereas the raw file, it is a very flat image. So all we've done so far is concentrate on exposure, and what we want to do now is just bring up the vibrance. I don't touch the saturation at all. Now, as you can see, 62% is a bit too much, so we bring that down to, I'd say about 40-ish, somewhere around there. I must admit, I'm not one for seeing way too much colour. I mean, if you want to give it a bit of warmth in the image, that can always work extremely well, like so. And then what we do, because it's coloured everywhere, what we can do is just bring some darkness back into the image and bring some shadow back into it and make that look a bit more punchier, a little bit more punch into the image. Or we can go just like this and just do that vibrance to about, yeah, got to be careful, just look at that, and you can see that's a little bit too blue for the colour. In the evening it does look warm, it feels warm, so just be very careful. About 5,000 Kelvin, 5,200 Kelvin there. I think exposure is exactly where it is, we don't touch that. We could bring some blacks in, like I said, so if you've gone too far you can see what happens. So we can go around about where everything is exposed still correctly, about there. And what I'm going to do is probably get some white or light back into it just a tad. Now just 7 there. And what I really like is a little bit of clarity in my images, but I don't want it all over the place. So the clouds look really nice in this image. So what I'm going to do is use a graduated filter and go halfway up here. And the beauty of the graduated filter, of course, is you can use fine adjustments. And this, I believe this is quite new to Lightroom, but I'm not really bothered about hue. I don't touch hue at all. What I do want is exposure. So now we don't want to see the ground. With landscapes, we do not want to see the ground lighter than the sky, because it just doesn't happen. It's not right. It's not natural. So you always have your ground darker than you do your sky. Now, if you see a lot of images where it's so well exposed between the ground and the sky, then it looks a bit false and it looks a bit fake. I like to see shadows like this. I like to see darker shadows than that, to be fair, and I may put them in a minute because I like a bit of grunt in my image. So I want to put a lot of clarity wouldn't say huge amounts of clarity, but definitely a fair bit of clarity in that wheat, because it looks great. And the other thing that Lightroom has given us as well is the texture. That's probably too much, but I don't want to go too mad, but I do want to go just enough for it to look really nice. And the blacks, now I feel like if I go too mad that will look wrong, but if I go too, I'm going to turn that off, because do you know what, I like shadows. I like shadows. I'll turn that off because it's just distracting, but I think around about there, minus 10%. And then what I'm going to do is just give that a bit more warmth on the wheat, and there we have it. I think that's it, that's it. Don't need to touch the highlights on it. Shadows, no, because we want that colour in there. I'm not sure why that is pink. It needs to be white, please. Yes. Turn it off. Okay. So no colour on that. I don't want colour on that. So yeah, it's looking good. That's looking good. That's looking great. So close that. And we've done the vibrance, done that. And I like a bit of detail. Now the detail we don't go too mad with, okay? There is plenty of sharpness in that already. It's already been sharpened naturally by Lightroom. Lightroom tends to do 40% sharpening. And what I tend to do, here's a little trick for you, press options and then click on masking and drag with your left button, click down, drag it to the right, and everything there that you see in white will be sharpened, okay, so that you can see there clearly that the field and the lighthouse itself is going to be nicely sharpened, but it will leave the clouds alone as well, although the clouds will be sharpened slightly as well. So let go, and there you have it. You've got nice sharp images. If we zoom right in, let's zoom right into 2.2. Now look at the detail in that. Look at the detail in that. You can see the tiles and everything, okay? So that's what 45 megapixels gives you. I can't zoom in anymore, can I? Or can I? Let's try 3. Oh, you can, baby. Let's go. Let's go a bit more. Let's zoom in. So there you go. I was on a tripod, and look at those details in the slate roof there. Wow. And look at this image here. Look how much I've zoomed right in. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let's go a bit more. Now, at 8 times, 8.8 times zoomed in. Look at that. That's ridiculous. Now it's starting to pixelate, okay, which I am not surprised, but wow, that is really amazing. So we'll go 4 times and 4 times. Look at that, the detail in that. That is incredible. So we'll go back to fit. Look how far out it went. Look at that. You can't even see the roof with your naked eye from this point of view. You go zoom straight into 4:1. Wow. So there you go, guys. What can I say? That is basic. That's very, very basic on the editing. And I think the final thing that I would do in Lightroom is just give it a little bit of a vignette, because it was dark, just a tad. Let's go down to about 10%, minus 10, okay? And that is it. That will give you a nice mood and a nice look to it. Now, if we press Y on the keyboard, there you go. Thank you very much. Does that not look nice on the right? I hope so. I hope you think so. I think so. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. So that is one singular image on the left hand side there that was blown out. So this one here, blown out here, around here. Very, very bright, and look how well that edited and recovered. we have got a little bit too much vignette there. I believe that is from the lens barrel and the filters we were using, so we can crop that a little bit. That's no hardship, so we'll just crop that a wee bit. Okay, and with the vignette it doesn't affect it, so we'll just crop that a touch, and there you go. That's it, and there you go, and that's that vignette gone. So we press Y again, let's have a look. So there you go guys, very nice. And that is how I would edit, take an image firstly, edit and resolve any issues in Lightroom. Now thankfully Lightroom has given us the power now to edit these raw files from the EOS R5 and the EOS R6 when it eventually arrives to us. But yeah, as you can see there, the EOS R5 with its 45 megapixels really retains detail incredibly well. The only time I've seen detail like that is from the Canon 5DS and the SR, where they have really retained detail just like that. So 5 megapixels really doesn't make a huge amount of difference, to be honest. Whereas that is phenomenal. The sky, everything about that image is superb. The files are superb. You can, well, I'm blown away, to be honest. I really am. I think that says it all. That says it all. Shows you how really good that camera is and how much you can edit it and not degrade the image in any way whatsoever. So from me, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. From me, it's been a lovely old job. Until